new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Caro Herrera, and today I'm going to be talking about a story called Stardust. I shall be reviewing the book, which was written by Neil Gainman and published in 1999, and about its movie adaptation, which came out in 2007 and stars Charlie Cox, Claire Danes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro, Mark Strong, Ben Barnes, Peter O'Toole, Sienna Miller, Rupert Everett, Henry Cavill, among others. Oh, but before we begin, let me just say that this will be a video without spoilers, so sit back and enjoy. So I was first introduced to this story because of the movie. When it was released, I watched it because I liked all of the actors in it and because I love romance and fantasy and stories of adventure. And while I never really adored it, I thought it was okay. It was a nice movie. But then this year, I stumbled upon a quote about Neil Gainman that made me want to read the book. I'd been hearing about this author for years, but I'd never really paid him that much attention before. But yes, this quote was by the Times, and it says, "Neil Gaiman's dark fantasy delights and disturbs. His prose is simple but poetic, his world strange but utterly believable. If he was South American, we would call this magical realism rather than fantasy. Gaiman's achievement is to make the fantasy world seem true." And well, being a Mexican and growing up in Mexico, magical realism is a big part of our culture. And so for some reason, I thought that a British author who writes fantasy, had he just been born here and grown up here in Latin America, he would have been writing magical realism. That stuck with me. So yeah, I decided to try out my first Gaiman book, and because I was familiar with the movie Stardust, I decided that would be my first. And because it's not that long, it's about 150 pages, I read it in a day. The story starts in England in the 19th century in a village called Wall. It's called that way because there's this long wall besides it that serves as a barrier between the normal world and a magical land called Fairy. No one from the town really ever goes into that place though. Anyways, the protagonist is called Tristan. He's an English young man who is inexperienced around women, but he nonetheless has a really big crush on the town's local beauty, a girl called Victoria. One day, as Tristan is trying to flirt with her, they see a shooting star fall in the direction of Fairy, and in order to prove his love for Victoria, Tristan promises to go in search for that star and bring it back to her. So he ventures forward into this magical place full of unicorns, magic, witches, and more. When he finds the star, he discovers that she's a young woman with a temper and a will of her own. So, will Tristan manage to bring the star back to the wall to show to Victoria? There are other people seeking for the star for their own motives, and so danger awaits them both along the way. There's also a pretty important backstory regarding Tristan's parents, but overall this is what Stardust is all about. I give the book a 4.5 out of 5 stars review and the movie a 4 out of 5 stars review. I really enjoy them both. I think it's a wonderful plot. I did end up enjoying the author's writing style, and it has all of these unique whimsical fantasy elements that are pretty endearing. I'm not gonna read any more of his books anytime soon, although some of them sound pretty interesting. But yes, as to the novel, I like the characters and it was really easy to understand, and more than once I thought it was really sweet. It reminded me of one of my favorite childhood classics, The Last Unicorn, except now that rather than having a unicorn turned into a young woman, we have a star who's a woman. But yes, anyways, regarding the movie, I rewatched it after finishing the book and I still like it. I do think the novel's better though. It's more poetic, whereas the movie takes more of a creative license for the sake of being commercial. But it has lovely landscapes and costumes and it's funny and pretty to look at. So yes, I recommend Stardust to anyone who likes fantasy, adventure, romance, coming of age stories where the characters undergo believable development. I also like the lesson about how we shouldn't really cling that much onto things that we want, because in the end they may not be the best for us, and so we should always receive surprises with open arms because one of them may end up being what we actually need. But yes, for the moment I believe this is all I have to say about the book and the movie Stardust. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please let me know what you thought of it, as well as your own thoughts on the story. In the description box below you can find a link to the book's Goodreads page as well as a link to the film's IMDB page. And also I have the Mental Traveler account on Instagram, so if you're on that social media, please follow me. I'm Caro Herrera, the Mental Traveler, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Take care and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye!